They got made a cover.
Yo, got you. Let's crank this up to straight YG. FDT in the Cheeto, bro. West Coast gals. A pal praying rolls and swastika waving, enablers pounding 808s. Starting the midway, price game, no cap, all fire. Here's the full track. They praying to pews, but praying to God. Cross on the neck, devil in the heart. Ice jack boots marching, Gestapo blow up. Undocumented dreams getting stomped in the mud. Time to call it out. Fake fuck Christian. Fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Hide behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashy. Fuck the fake Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Raids on the borders, kids in the trash. Fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Tackle in the pulpit, time to expose the gash. Fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. We ain't burn no more. We rising, we crashing. Yo. Collar popping preacher with the devil's brand. Sermon on Sunday, sins on the weekend spin. Touching little lambs while the choir sings hallelujah. Then tweeting about borders like a border collie herd. Ice roll D-bands, black as midnight raid. Snatching mamas at dawn, leaving babies in the shade. You quote Leviticus, beloved Leviticus lies. Pedo paradise behind them stained glass eyes. Nazi flags waving at the mega church rally. Build the wall chants while they building body tally. Undocumented sweat built your golden steeple. Now you call them demons. Man, that's straight up evil. Fuck your tax breaks, fuck your holy waterfront. Where the flood coming, your art's getting sunk. Fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Hide behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashy. Fuck the fake Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Raids on the borders, kids in the trash. Fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Tapo in the pulpit, time to expose the gas. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. We ain't praying no more, we rising, we crashing. Alright, all the voice, the tiki torch flex. Preaching purity while they protecting the prince. Family values my ass, it's a family of frauds. Covering tracks like confessional fraud. Ice agents praying before the dawn sweet. Cupping dreams in the street, making grandma squeak. You love the orange channel, tweeting from the throne. But your cop 50 bucks and from the truth get shot. Pedo rings ringing like your collection plate. Nazi youth groups in the basement, sealing fate. We undocumented, but our fires are documented too. Burning through the hypocrisy, straight exposing you. No more turning cheeks, we flipping the script. Revolution in the rhyme, watch the empire slip. Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Ice can stop all your time, no notion now. Yeah, fuck the frogs. There it is. Pure rage, repetitive like FDT. But laser focus on the fake piety and raids. Spin it over that G-Funk bounce. And it's a banger. Wanna purge more verses or a beat breakdown? Consider it. Yo, got you. Let's crank this up to straight YG FDT entity, that raw West Coast bounce. Repetitive chin hooks that hit like fists versus slicing through the bullshit with zero chill. We're talking fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi as the ultimate diss track on hypocrite. Holy rollers, child praying robes and swastika waving, enablers pounding 808, snarling delivery. Crowd scream, no cap, all fire. Here's the full track. Yeah, fuck the frauds. They pray in the pews, but pray in the dark. Cross on the neck, devil in the heart. Ice jack boots marching, Gestapo glow up. Undocumented dreams getting stomped in the mud. Time to call it out, fake fuck Christians. Pedo loving Nazi. Hide behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashed. Fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi. Raids on the borders, kids in the trash. Fake fuck Christian. Fuck pedo loving Nazi. Burn it down. Gestapo in the pulpit, time to expose the gas. Fake fuck Christian. pedal loving Nazi. We ain't praying no more, we rise and we crash. Yeah, yo, collar popping preacher with the devil's grant. Sermon on Sunday, sins on the weekend spin. Touching little lambs while the choir sings hallelujah. Then tweeting about borders like a border collie herder. Ice roll deep, vans black as midnight rays. Snatching mamas at dawn, leaving babies in the shade. You quote Leviticus, but love Leviticus lies. Pedo paradise behind them stained glass eyes. Nazi flags waving at the mega church rally. Build a wall chance while they building body tally. Undocumented sweat built your golden steeple. Now you call them demons, man, it's straight up evil. Fuck your tax breaks, fuck your holy waterfront. With a flood coming, your arcs getting sunk. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Hop behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashed. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Raised on the borders, kids in the trash heap. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Burn it down,
It's hot in here, you need cold air. Because you have cold outside, warm inside.
We ain't praying no more, we rise and we crash. Alright, altar boys with the tiki torch flex. Preaching purity while they protecting the preds. Family values my ass, it's a family of frauds. Covering tracks like confessional bras. Ice ages, praying before the dawn sweep. Cuffing dreams in the street, making grandmas weep. You love the orange idol, tweeting from the throne. But your guys getting ghosted when the truth gets shown. Pedo rings ringing like a collection plate. Nazi youth groups in the basement, sealing fate. We undocumented, but our files undocumented too. Burning through the hypocrisy, straight exposing you. No more turning cheeks, we flipping the script. Revolution in the rhyme, watch the empire slip. Fake fuck Christian, fuck pedo loving Nazi. Tear it down, ice can stop or your time's up. Revolution. Fake fuck Christian, yeah, fuck the frauds. There it is, pure rage, repetitive like FDT. But laser focus on the fake potty and rage. Spit it over that G-funk bounce and it's a banger. On a bridge, more verses or a beat breakdown. Let's iterate. Fake fuck Christian,
Pedo loving Nazi.
fake fuck Christian. Yeah, fuck the fraud. Yo, gotcha. Let's crank this up to straight YGFDT. West Coast bounce. Repetitive chin hooks that hit like fists. Versus slicing through the bullshit with zero chill. We're talking face. Pedo loving Nazi. As the ultimate diss track on hypocrite. Holy rollers, child in robes and swastika waving. Enablers pounding 808, snarling delivery crowd scream. Cold cat, all here's the full track. Yeah, fuck frauds. They pray in the pews, but pray in the dark. Cross on the neck, devil in the heart. Ice jack boots marching, Gestapo glow up. Undocumented dreams getting stomped in the mud. Time to call it out. Fake fuck Christian, fake fuck Christian. Pedo loving Nazi, hide behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashy. Fuck the fake Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Raids on the borders, kids in the trash heap. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Burn it down in the pulpit, time to expose the gas. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. We ain't praying no more, we rise and we crash. Yo, collar popping preacher with the devil's grin. Sermon on Sunday, sins on the weekend spin. Touching little lambs while the choir sings hallelujah. Then tweeting about borders like a border collie herder. Ice roll deep, vans black as midnight rain. Snatching mamas at dawn, leaving babies in the shade. You quote Leviticus, beloved Leviticus lies. Pedo paradise behind them stained glass eyes. Nazi flags waving at the mega church rally. Build a wall chance while they building body tally. Undocumented sweat built your golden steeple. Now you call them demons, man, that's straight up evil. Fuck your tax breaks, fuck your holy waterfront. With a flood coming, your heart's getting sunk. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Hide behind the Bible, but your soul's getting flashy. Fuck the fake Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Reds on the borders, kids in the trash heap. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. Stuck in the pulpit, time to expose the gas. Fake fuck Christian, pedo loving Nazi. We ain't praying no more, we rise and we crashing. Alright, altar boys with the tiki torch flags, preaching purity while they protecting the preds. Family values my ass, it's a family of frauds. Covering tracks like confessional broads. Ice agents praying before the dawn sweep. Cuffing dreams in the street, making grandmas weep. You love the orange idol, tweeting from the throne. But your guys getting ghosted when the truth gets shown. Pedo rings ringing like a collection plate. Nazi youth groups in the basement, sealing fate. We undocumented, but our fire's undocumented too. Burning through the hypocrisy, straight exposing you. No more turning cheeks, we flipping the script. Revolution in the rhyme, watch the empire slip. Pedo loving now. Yeah, fuck the frauds. There it is, pure rage. Repetitive like FDT. But laser focused on the fake potty and raids. Spit it over that G-funk bounce, and it's a banger. Want a bridge, more verses, or a beat breakdown. Let's iterate. Yeah, got you. Let's crank this up the straight. YGFDT, energy, that raw West Coast bonds. The pen them chill, hopes they hit like fists. First is slicing through the bullshit with zero chill. We talking fake, fuck Christian. Held the Nazi as the ultimate diss track on hypocrite. Holy rollers, child, bring your robes and swastika waving the neighbors, pounding at the wake, snorting get under we crowd scream, no cap on fire. Here's the full track. They pray in the pews, but pray in the dark. Cross on the neck, devil in the heart, ice check, boost march and get stabbed on glow up. Documented dreams get stopped in the mud. Fake fuck Christian, ghetto loving Nazi. Hide behind the Bible, but your souls get flashy. Fuck the fake Christian, ghetto loving Nazi. Brains on the borders, kids in the trash. Fake fuck Christian, ghetto loving Nazi. Burn it down, get devil in the pulpit. Time to expose the ghetto. Fuck Christian, ghetto loving Nazi. We ain't praying no more, we rising, we crashing. Yo, collar popping preacher with the devil's grin. Sermon on Sunday, sins on the weekend spin. Touching little lambs while the choir sings hallelujah. Then tweeting about borders like a border collie herder. Ice roll deep, vans black as midnight rain. Snatching mamas at dawn, leaving babies in the shade. Quote Leviticus for love, Leviticus lies, pedal paradise. Church rally, build a wall, chance while they build a body jelly. I'm talking man sweat, built your golden staple. Now you call them parents, yeah, that's straight up. Evil, your tax breaks, fuck your holy water up front. When the blood coming, your arms getting soft.
Fuck Christian, better love a Nazi. Nazi, fake Christian, better love a Nazi.
Yeah. Right, altar boys with the tiki torch flex, preaching purity while they protecting the press. Family baggies, my ass, it's a family of frauds. Covering tracks like confessional broads. Ice agents praying for all they draw sweet. Fuck the grains in the street, making grandma's weep. You love the orange job, tweeting from the phone, but your God getting ghosted when the creek gets shown. Little rings swinging like a collection plate. Nazi youth groups in the basement, selling fake. We undocumented, but I'm fucking for documented too. Burning through the hypocrisy, spraying, exposing you. No more turning cheeks, we flipping the script. Revolution in the wild, watch the empire slip.
Fuck Christian, better love a Nazi. Fake fuck Christian, better love a Nazi. Fake
Pure rage, repetitive like FTT. But laser focused on the fake piety and rage. Spin it over that G-Funk bounce, and it's a banger. Want a bridge, more verses, or beat breakdown. Let's hit a rate.
All right, here you go. Christian, better love a Nazi. Close to some biggest no believe. Dirty little things, creep up in the face. Take him to the top, but the temple let him drop. All right, let's go. Let's go make some dinner.
S&P 500 is overvalued, and whether the Max 7 can continue to sort of command that level of valuation, because they're driving much of the economy, much of the gains. AI is going to be huge no matter what. There's no doubt about that. But is that scarcity sustainable, or are there going to be many competitors from subscription revenue that's more or less in the bag. This is really dwarfing all history. Hey, so guys, I'm still getting up at like 3:30 in the morning coming back from yacht. How are you guys doing? I'm actually okay. I get back and I learned a trick from Ramez and Raymond McCauley, and he said take a double dose of melatonin, and in a couple of days you're good. I've actually been surprisingly okay. I actually like getting up at 3:30. It's like I've got like 4 hours before anybody else wakes up. It's like amazing. Dave, how about you? I'm back on schedule. All right. I don't think I ever got acclimated to Saudi, actually. So I don't think I slept more than 4 hours straight. What an amazing trip it was. I mean, just to recount 1 second, I mean, spending time with Eric Schmidt and Feifei on stage was awesome. Hanging out with Barat, the president of Alphabet. I mean, what an amazing woman she is. Any favorite memories from you guys? I have a selfie with Ray Dalio, and I spent an evening late with Balaji talking about, U.S., China, et cetera, et cetera. Oh my God, I had to duck out. I mean, so here we had this dinner in Riyadh that we put together basically with myself inviting and Dave and John Wood was there, and we had Kathy Wood and Balaji debating China versus U.S. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a long conversation. Balaji can talk. Oh boy, can he ever talk. He's got some great framings, though, right? He talks about the left versus right in the U.S. as scribes versus vibes. So the left is scribes, and they're like, crime is down by 50%. And the right is vibes. They're like, well, it doesn't feel good. And it's a really great framing. Having breakfast with Move2Japan was awesome. I know I've seen Intel, the biggest miss of the week. I know, but we'll get him on the pod. He said he wants to join the pod. We'll talk about his time at the White House and his skyrocketing shares at Intel. It's exciting. Any other favorite memories? Philip Johnson was doing it. He invited me to the SpaceX launch. I had a wedding to go to last night, which was also a lot of fun. But I would have been able to go down and see the launch. The first H100 in orbit. H100 in orbit. Yeah, that's not a huge amount of compute, but certainly a bellwether for humankind if we get down the Dyson sphere. So that was really fun. He's a sharp dude. Yeah, and for me, hanging out with Bill Ackman was fun. He's getting involved in some of the stuff that we're doing. And Bob Mungard, the CEO of Commonwealth Fusion, was at our dinner. So it was good. A lot of time with Bob, actually. He's deep. He's an MIT PhD in nuclear stuff. So he knows all the details of sustainable fusion. There's a lot about it that I didn't actually realize. There was one thing that he said that blew my mind because I asked him when we have a commercial rebuilt reactor. And he said it was looking like 2032. And I'm like, and I'm like, how much would it generate? He's like, about 400 megawatts. I mean, if we have fusion, working fusion in 7 years, it's game over, right? Yeah, I mean, I asked some of the fusion guys at XPRIZE Engineering, what about Helion, right? This is the Sam Altman-backed company as a contract with Microsoft, and they're like, they're so secretive, we have no idea what they're doing or what their schedule is. But still, one of my favorite moments was our last night going down to the bar. Remember that? Oh, that was super. We went for a munch list with 20 kind of friendly senior Saudi folks. Yeah, it was coffee with. Let me finish on that one. We had one of our super subscribers and super fans in Saudi has this beautiful bar right near MBS's private homes, and we come out there, and he's set up in this Majlis where it was you, me, Eric Poulier, Imad, and Max Don, and we did a sort of a private shot conversation Q&A with these 20 senior Saudis over there, past ministers of education and commerce, finance, all in a circle. Yeah, it was awesome. It turns out to be a very old tradition. I remember the UAE days to run. place, and it was the leader would host, and anybody could apply to go to this and talk directly with the leader of the country. It was kind of very. I love when he pulled out the microphone and he had the speakers, and we were on stage doing Q&A. Yeah, it was great. I was scared for a second. He wanted to do karaoke. Yeah, well, speaking of Angelus, I thought the sage Angelus was the head of president of Bermuda was there. I'm forgetting his name. He was awesome. He's an IT background, technology background guy, as it turns out. So he definitely wanted, and he was taking credit for being the launch point of Bitcoin. So he wanted to eagerly make Bermuda the launch point of Sage, of governance. Yeah, we unveiled the top secret project that Imad and Salim, Dave, and I have been working on called the Sovereign AI Governance Engine, or SAGE, that would allow any country in the world to be able to generate policy as these disruptive futures are coming. So that was awesome. But you guys want to jump into the episode? Yeah, hold on. I just want one big quick feedback. So I had the copy of the book the next day. I know. Yeah. And he said he got feedback from the group that was.
What's up, Nazi? What's going on?
That's awesome. Yeah.
What's going on? Fake fuck Christian, Peter loving Nazi.
Minister of ICT.
I don't know, dude.
Basically, the minister.
Winning what? Winning what is one of those, I think, one of those fake fuck Christians, Peter loving Nazis.
And so he's going to be on our podcast. He basically is the lead in Saudi across all of the key technologies, the commitments they're making to AI. It's super fun. But I think we should get on the episode. That's content creation this weekend. First, let me show you AI. Viral ideas, building a content calendar. So much in here. We got a little nervous because we're trying to grab a lot of these short scenes. Yeah. It's a very fun. Like Alex was always saying, we got to begin with us during the singularity. Hey, G, good to see you, buddy. Sorry to hear you in Saudi. Yeah, likewise. But every time I'm having a technology conversation, Alex, I was like, what's this deep visit? Yeah, it's like withdrawal. Welcome to Moonshots. Another episode of WTF just happened in technology. This is your weekly dose of optimism and catching up with this hyper exponential world. And let's jump in. First major chapter here is the speed of change. And here we go. So, setting new records, OpenAI hits historic growth to 100 billion in revenue. So, here's the chart. It's reaching 100 billion in revenue in 2.5 years. To NVIDIA, which took 8 years, Amazon took 7 years, Google took 10 years. So, it's just speeding up. Alex, we're going to hit 100 billion. I think it's entirely possible that the easiest is it's not that difficult to imagine OpenAI revenue year over year for the next 2.5 years and getting there in 2027. The key again is just taking knowledge work and it's taking intensing physical agents from 24/7. Yeah, they're only forecasting 2.5x growth year over year. So it's very achievable target. Because I looked at this originally and I said, wow, that's a stretch. But then you look under the covers, with 800 million subscribers already, half this comes from subscription revenue. That's more or less in the bag. And the other half is much more interesting, is where the AI gets good at commerce and recommending products and then figuring out how to monetize that. And that's the part that attacks Google. So that part is in the air, but it is for sure. For sure. But I can't see, it feels like it's definitely going to happen. The only question is whether OpenAI competes Sure, OpenAI's number there is a projection, but NVIDIA is in the back. That's a real number for NVIDIA. And if the chart starts at 10 billion, but if you started at 20 billion, NVIDIA would look just like OpenAI on this. So that part is already very, very real. So yeah, and look at all the history of all other curves, including the greats like Google. This is really dwarfing all history.
Every week, my team and I study the top 10 technology metatrends that will transform industries over the decade ahead. I cover trends ranging from humanoid robotics, AGI, and quantum computing to transport, energy, longevity, and more. There's no fluff. Only the most important stuff that matters. It impacts our lives, our companies, and our careers. If you want me to share these metatrends with you, I run a newsletter twice a week, sending it out as a short 2-minute read via email. And if you want to discover the most important metatrends 10 years before anyone else, this report's for you. Readers include founders, CEOs of the world's most disruptive companies, and entrepreneurs building the world's most disruptive tech. It's not for you if you don't want to be informed about what's coming, what matters, and how you can benefit from it. To subscribe for free, go to dmadness.com/metatrends to gain access to trends 10 years before anyone else. Right, now back to this episode. I read some of the user comments, the subscriber comments, and one of them said every 10 years is incredible. You should take a drink. It's eating and drinking. I'm going to cut back on my incredibles. Okay, this is incredible. All right, let's move on. I found this one fascinating. This is the U.S. leading the world in data centers. So, it's incredible. 426 data centers compared to the rest of the world. Look at that. Germany's at 529. China's at 449. We have more data centers than the rest of the world combined.
Really? I was trying to research this, Alex. I want to get your take on this, Alex, because it definitely is juxtaposed with China having massively more power and massively more core manufacturing ability. Now, this one really surprised me, but I couldn't find online any detail behind it. So what's the understory here?
Yeah, no, remember the internet was born here. The US has lots of available land. Hyperscalers are largely based here. They have access to capital. I don't think it's data centers. Remember, this is not the number of AI data centers or the number of neo-cloud or Stargate type data centers. It's just total number of data centers would have a modality in the US.
Is there an AI petaflops version of it, which would be more meaningful than just raw count of data centers?
Almost certainly. Maybe we should cover that in the next episode.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
This pisses me off. They strip table salt down to 2 minimals, call it healthy, and then wonder why people are insane. The Red Book shows the truth, but only if you actually digestion issues. Flip to the gut section. You'll find ginger plus peppermint tea. Boil, sip.
Our next story here is NVIDIA reaches $5 trillion market cap. Holy cow. It's up 1,500% the last 5 years. The market cap is greater than the GDP of every country in the world except US and China.
That metric is frustrating because they're talking about the asset value of NVIDIA. The value of the company, if you were to acquire it, is $5 trillion. You should be comparing that to the asset value of countries, not to the GDP of countries, which is already mind-blowing enough. I checked it out. So that makes NVIDIA worth the same amount as Saudi Arabia, where we just were. What a coincidence. It's actually a little more than Switzerland. Like, in terms of if you were to try to buy NVIDIA with your own money or buy Saudi Arabia, they would sell it. The cost of buying the entire country, all the land, all the assets, all the buildings, would be the same as buying NVIDIA. And that is staggering enough. We should be comparing apples to apples because it's already mind-blowing. It's right between Switzerland and Saudi Arabia. So we'll buy Switzerland, we'll buy Saudi Arabia, we'll buy NVIDIA.
So this we're going from nation states to corporate states in a way that's incredible.
A few years ago, we looked at getting a bunch of investors together and actually buying a small country on a that basis. In that case, it was about 200 million. But then you get a seat at the UN and you have access when you're part of the WTO, and you could really do some interesting things. So that was interesting.
I laid for a historical record, and what I found was General Motors in 1955 was the first company to hit $10 billion. It was during the post-war auto boom. And $10 billion corrected for inflation today is $121 billion.
talking about a completely different category, 50 times bigger than General Motors at its peak.
Well, I'll take the other side of that, if I may. I mean, history tells us at any given time the market values what's both scarce and needed. So we've seen multiple East India companies. We've seen various scarcities, including oil, pop up over the centuries. I would argue that this is actually just a market signal that right now compute is both scarce and needed. But the way the game of capitalism works is this value wants to diffuse over many companies and probably many countries over time. And that diffusion is going to be a net wealth creator.
That's very true. I mean, there are going to be so many additional chip manufacturers. We'll talk about some of them here in the pod today. I found this chart particularly exciting, which is the decoupling job openings versus S&P 500. Those of you looking on YouTube or listening, here's the chart. We see S&P 500 as job openings, total job openings increase. S&P 500 increases or the other way around. And then in late
My dog, get 8.
we see this departure. And the S&P 500 takes off. And job
No.
openings drop from 11 million openings to 7 million openings. And so the question is, what happens in late 2023? Well, if you look at the data, it says ChatGPT gets launched. Let's dive into this one. Dave, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, well, so I love the storylines that'll end up in the history books as opposed to the news du jour, Taylor Swift type stuff. This is one where very likely that future history books taught in schools, if there are schools, will point to this moment in time and say, what happened here? Because that trend is going to continue. Now, the deniers are going to look at this chart and they're going to say, well, look, that's just COVID, happening, and then a big rebound from COVID, and now we're back to kind of normal job opening levels. Look at kind of history here. But so what happens next? This is either a historic moment if the trends continue, which I think they will, or this is just sort of like a blip COVID recovery thing. But I think Alex will look at this and say, yeah, this is the beginning of the inevitable. Alex, do you say
I will actually say, much as I'd love to tell a story that this is the beginning of paper and capital, I think this is actually just garden variety changes in Federal Reserve interest rate hikes in late 2022. As interest rates started to come back down, the market goes up. And as COVID starts to retreat, job openings and job displacements also start to return to 2021 levels. So again, I would love to tell just that story. This is the beginning of decoupling from every capital.
mostly sorted into AI people getting incredible offers and everybody else not finding a job. These being at all-time highs, like it's so and you see it later in the deck too, the layoffs at Amazon and record earnings. So there's some other data points that would indicate that. On the plus side here, I think this is a major mark here. Humans have now become functional inputs into the society. The economy doesn't.
クレジットカードいろいろあって選べない。アプリが便利なクレジットカードのおすすめ。なぜかのアプリも。
I tweeted out that AI is no longer an industry or sector, it is the economy. And Elon responded saying AI and robots are.
He always has been, dude.
Which is
Chuck
true.
Schumer, hey,
One of the indications the S&P 500
I was coding all day. It was pretty. I didn't get on at all.
There's optimism about the
Coding,
future.
napping.
People are investing, and I've got to believe that's fundamentally true. People are excited about the Max 7 or 8 or whatever they're up to these days.
Yeah, fuck Chuck Schumer, dude. Fucking asshole.
Just
How did I sell out? How did I sell out?
Yeah, because the market is really in great shape.
Yeah, so a lot of the job cutting is actually in anticipation of AI coming. So it's not
It's not full automation yet, but if you look at Amazon as a bellwether for that, Amazon's right in the middle of the AI fray. They have huge amounts of labor in
What
their
did I do?
delivery business, yet they have this massive data center and AI business. So that'll be the bellwether on whether the true automation kicks in, and I think it's very real if you look at the numbers coming up on the slides there.
I mean, the big question is whether the S&P 500 is overvalued and whether the Max 7 can continue to sort of command that level of valuation because they're driving much of the economy and much of the gains. Dave, what do you think?
Well, Leopold actually, went long Intel and long Broadcom.
Guess we got one snuck in here.
Index as a whole. And I didn't dig in on that until yesterday, but that's 20% of that was NVIDIA that he shorted. When you short the whole sector, so that would be the argument that look, if the whole thing is gonna collapse, it's because NVIDIA in particular is valued like Switzerland.
Snuck in. Proud little Nazi got in.
And I think Alex is dead right. Right now, NVIDIA.
See what the name was of the person. Hold on, let me check.
Huge no matter what. There's no doubt about that.
Let me see if they changed their name.
Is that scarcity sustainable, or are there going to be many competitors in a race?
It's hard to diffuse, right? We're going to go. It's going to be Broadcom. It's going to be AMD. It's going to be Qualcomm. It's going to be a whole bunch of chip manufacturers. So it will diffuse, but we'll see sort of the peaks, perhaps, of NVIDIA.
Well, really specifically too, NVIDIA is Mellanox is interconnect. There's a million coherent GPUs operating on one big problem, but most of the industry is inference time. Inference time doesn't need any of that.
And hide them.
And so, I will give
Why? Fucking Nazi. He doesn't have any history. 9-year-old.
Prize winner Jeffrey Hinton was on stage in my London summit.
He has no history. New account.
See if he takes it up.
Made a fake account, changed his name, became a mod, changed his name. That's all that happened.
And look forward to an optimistic view of AI. Let's play this clip from Dr. Hinton and let's chat about it. More optimistic than it was a few weeks ago.
No, someone got in, acted blue,
I think that
got mod status, and then changed their name.
with things that are smashable,
It's just a troll.
we built.
Don't give them the time of day.
As well as making them very intelligent, we can try and build in something like a maternal instinct. But what they can't
A long name like that, AI can't differentiate between a long name like American Nazi Party.
to make sure the baby succeeds.
Can't differentiate. So it doesn't look for the individual words within a long name. So yeah. And the symbol's just a Buddhist symbol. So it's not the Nazi symbol. So it's the Shinto shrine symbol.
You know,
Easy to do.
when something brand new comes along, the first instinct is to freak out, right?
Not hard. Just a fucking tool. They're gone. It's funny. They came in like when there's no one. The funny thing is like he couldn't wait. He couldn't wait. The guy couldn't wait. It's like there's 4 people in here, and you're gonna show your ass. So you did all this effort to become a mod to show your ass when there's like 4 people in this chat. They're so fucking dumb. They're so dumb, Crystal.
The basis of the elements of the autonomous car company, and often also people that are very focused on technology.
They're not the smartest. They're dumb.
Most of their eyes focusing on the technology, and they ignore their emotional side, right? And little by little, the emotional side comes into play. Freaks out initially, and then little by little warms up to the task. Because people forget the unbelievable benefits that AI is delivering and will deliver. That's the part that they only see the dark side. We don't see the unbelievable benefits. So I'm really thrilled to see this. I think we're going to see a lot more of this as time goes by. I don't really buy the maternal instinct that AI is a maternal thing. It seems a little kind of
These guys are so naive.
It's such a visceral, subjective experience to parenting or whatever. I'm not sure how that's it. We have to get it. We have to get the AI oxytocin. Alex, what do you make of this? Yeah, it seems to be an argument premised on what in the AI alignment research communities call the orthogonality thesis, that it's possible to have intelligent agents of arbitrarily high levels of capability that nonetheless can be directed to pursue any goal. In this case, it seems is it's basically re-articulating the orthogonality thesis with perhaps a veneer of digital oxytocin. As you said, Peter, I think that's unlikely and probably not that robust in means of alignment for superintelligence. I think if the goal is to have a more robust guarantee of intelligence, approaches that acknowledge instrumental convergence, the idea that no matter what your long-term goal is, you tend to have certain invergent common short-term goals. I think instrumental convergent type approaches are likely to guarantee or provide robust guarantees of happiness. So James Miller wrote, I think, in Synchronicity, Reasons to Preserve Humanity, less wrong that enumerates a couple dozen different reasons for why superintelligence should play nicely with humanity out of self-interest, not out of some sort of oxytocin-induced, surgically added reason. Not that's really my organization. All right. Well, I want to say one more thing about Jeffrey. Yes. He did a podcast for Jon Stewart a few weeks ago. And Jon Stewart kind of said that through deep learning and the whole framing of neural nets. And it was an absolutely brilliant episode. I want to understand a little bit about deep learning, background, propagation, etc. He did an amazing job playing that out.
Here are 5 signs that you're a weak speaker. You replay conversations in your head. You get talked over. You lose your words mid-sentence. You stay quiet when you shouldn't. You explain, but no one gets it. Tomorrow morning, we're starting the 14-day charisma challenge.
All right, I'll take a look at that. Here's our next story. Deep fake of Jensen Huang draws more views than the real one. I found this absolutely fascinating, and I want to share this video. And what we're going to see here is there's an official video channel which is showing Jensen's presentation. It peaked at 12,000 views. And then there was a fake live stream that peaked at 95,000 views. Let's take a look at the fake live stream.
And cutting-edge hardware with decentralized finance. It's about proving that crypto works reliably, globally, and for everyone. A couple things to keep in mind. Only use the QR code you see right here on the GTC broadcast. Don't trust any links floating around online. They're not us.
I love that. The fake broadcasting. Don't trust any links. That's hilarious. The numbers are pretty staggering. It's $1.5 billion lost globally for deepfake related fraud since 2019. And only 24.5%, according to the numbers here, of people can actually spot deepfake quality, and AI detectors fail up to 50% of the time. So this is going to be a thing.
I think reality may have just lost the algorithm.
No, I think in this case, if you look closely at the video, the lip syncing was for, I think in the short term, detect. You're kind of the 24% that can notice this, okay? Definitely notice the poor lip syncing. But I think like in the short term, detecting counterfeit live streams in real time doesn't seem like a terribly deep technical challenge. In the long term, we're going to have more solutions like ubiquitous watermarking, perhaps cryptographic guarantees of reality, perhaps. I don't think in the long term this is a deal killer for us drowning in AI-generated counterfeit live streams. I think this is very tractable.
Yeah, in the US, I agree. I think if you look globally, it's a little more of a concern. There's a real possibility that regimes lock themselves in. Control of media content is going to be so easy with AI assistance, and then convincing your population of virtually anything gets trivially cheap and easy. So I would be more concerned about, in some nation where they're not as aware of AI watermarking or, whatever, they're seeing things.
I would say that our nation isn't aware of that. And Alex, you made a point, we were just discussing a year ago that AI-generated speech is far more compelling than human speech. All right, let's move on to the AI wars. This is XAI versus OpenAI versus Google.
We're just ready off Anthropic to sleep.
No, I mean, they're in there, but these are our major players. We'll talk about
Dario would really object to that.
Listen, and I love Anthropic. And I want him on the pod for sure. All right, let's jump
XAI launches Wikipedia. I had a friend of mine, remember Justine from Singular University? Sure. Yeah, so she sends me this text. She goes, because she heard our pod, I was arguing or lamenting Wikipedia's inability to correct all of the wrong things in my. And I actually hired consultants to fix Wikipedia for me because I'd make the changes and they'd be changed. I was like, this is ridiculous. So she says, hey, Wikipedia's out here. Your Wikipedia entry. What do you think about it? And I look at it, and it's amazing. Right? It covers everything in detail, super well referenced. So Grokpedia is being written by Grok. It's writing, updating, fact checking it on a real time basis. And they have 900,000 articles compared to Wikipedia's 8 million articles. My particular entry here was 8,500 words on Grokpedia versus 4,800 on Wikipedia, but it was so well organized. And I just absolutely loved it. Any comments? Throw in a comment. I have a reason by analogy. There's a process that those not steamed perhaps in semiconductor manufacturing may not be familiar with. It's called zone melting. And it's a process for purifying, not knowledge in this case, but purifying semiconductors. And the idea is you take a rod and you pass it through a heater. And because there are more ways for impurities to exist in the solid state, in the melted state, rather than in the solid state, the impurities migrate out of the solid into the liquid state, and you do this over and over again, you get a pure semiconductor. We don't have a science right now for knowledge purification. One could imagine somehow, near future, we have the science for it, and we decide there are more ways for correct knowledge to be self-consistent than incorrect knowledge. And I think we're starting to see the beginnings of almost a knowledge equivalent of zone melting, where you take the raw slop, human slop of the internet, you pass it through multiple passes of AI gen synthesis, creating what aspirationally would be more correct versions of the ground truth. Do this over and over again, and maybe aspirationally, because there are more ways for the truth to be self-consistent than whatever the starting knowledge was. Maybe we arrive at some sort of ground truth through this result. I really don't know, but it would be interesting if that ends. Well, that is Elon's objective. Right? Basically trying to, from first principles, derive truth. I put a quote down here. It said,
Most men do Tai Chi wrong. That's why they don't lose weight. Maybe to have it.
This, Elon says, a step towards XAI school of understanding the universe.
Shout out two comments.
Please.
One is, Peter, I've talked for a long time, written the book that staff on demand and a community doing work is actually a proxy for AI.
Yes.
That's driving is a great example. But now we see it actually applied. If you take the Wikipedia article for a human editor who goes through and track it all the links and ratify everything, it's just a pain in the ass, and it's not the strength of the human being. Whereas an AI can do this without even thinking. I think that now propagates to a level where Wikipedia and AI interpretation per Alex's metaphor, which I think is fantastic. Now gives us the ability to have closer and closer to pure truth.
You want another one, Tommy, or no? You go.
Elon was talking about when he says maximizing or truth seeking maximizer. But now I'm starting to get a sense of it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Huh?
Get it there because it
Right.
references stories and cross-check things in a way that no human being will take
Ice cream.
to do. And it'll do it much more accurately.
Oh yeah, it's just described as really similar to the
What?
Google PageRank algorithm, where just starting from nothing, iterating between a reference link and a site, and then assigning credibility back and forth in this self-annealing process, simulated annealing process, and it worked. I mean, they don't need it anymore because they have so much data flowing in, but when they were just a little startup bootstrapping, it worked really well. So it's
This is also my comment. I used to PageRank. Therefore, people ask me, is it AI centered? I say, look at PageRank. It's a completely separate type of intelligence from all PageRank. It's sensitive. It's very orthogonal the way intelligence works, not replicative. So I think AI tends to have this totally different type of intelligence of mass crunching data and finding signal noise in a way that we're not designed to do at all.
Well, just thank you to Justine and Xander for pointing this out to me.
also mention real quick, I checked, and turns out Wikipedia has a budget of 170 million a year. About 100 million of that is labor, paying everybody to do this work. Some of it's voluntary, a lot of it is not. All right, let's move on.
So just a shout out to GB Wales for creating Wikipedia, sure, for all these years. I mean, what an unbelievable
I mean, we were watching the transition from the Encyclopedia Britannica to Wikipedia to Wikipedia, but Wikipedia was low hanging fruit. Any of the AI companies have taken this on. And I think it's going to be pervasive. I know I'm standing up a new website, rdmans.com. The very first thing I'm putting at the top is my Wikipedia link, right? You want to go deep? There it is. So, true to AWG's vision, this is an important conversation, and Alex actually read this paper. This is a new AGI benchmark, which gives ChatGPT a 57%. But I would prefer if you explain it, because it's pretty amazing. Steve, this one's for you, buddy. Finally, we have a definition of what AGI is and how to measure it. For the first time ever, this was a paper that was co-authored by Eric Schmidt as well. And it's a pretty powerful concept. Alex, can you take us through it?
Sure. So there's an enormous cottage industry of AI researchers trying to define what intelligence even is. I've been guilty of that in past years as well. My bias has always been to look for a universal, elegant definition of what intelligence is that isn't necessarily grounded in human behavior, human psychology. This paper, and Peter, you mentioned, whatever the co-authors on this paper, the basic idea behind this paper is to do the exact opposite. Instead of trying to look for some human agnostic definition of intelligence so that we can build more of it, the idea is instead to look at human psychology. So there is a theory that's popular in human psychology. It's called the Cattell-Horn-Carroll, or CHC theory, that decomposes human intelligence into 10 different factors: the ability to reason quantitatively or to do visual processing. So the idea behind this paper is to define a benchmark that's directly inspired by the CHC theory to decompose intelligence of frontier models into 10 different categories with various subtasks associated with each category. And the main upshot of benchmarking GPT-4 and GPT-5, although critically
Right.
not GPT-5 Pro, according to my reading of the paper, the main upshot is surprise intelligence is jagged.
What do you mean?
Frontier models are made stronger in some skills, weaker in other skills. Whereas the archetype,
When?
human would perhaps have a more uniform distribution of their skills across these 10 categories. But I noted the important caveat, again, just based on my reading of the paper.
He's going to go in military.
Benchmark the leading edge frontier models, GPT-5 Pro. For those looking at this on YouTube, you'll see these 10 different categories. These are human-like skills: knowledge, reading and writing, math, reasoning, working memory, memory storage, memory retrieval, visual, auditory, speed. And they're benchmarking GPT-5 and GPT-4 against those. But it's a measurable benchmark, right? I mean, the other option is the pornography definition. Well, no AGI when we see it. Dave, what do you want to add on this?
I'd love to get Alex's take, as I assume a 10 on each axis on this radar chart is human. So you're trying to match the outer ring here, but it's
all humans. I mean, no human is going to match 10 on this. Maybe he's going to be well-educated. I don't know.
okay. Well, it's going to be, the difference between the best human and an average human is a rounding error in the grand scheme of AI. It's almost identical, actually. But it's so asymmetrical, and I don't understand the memory and storage axis and the speed axis. How do you say the best AI is miles behind humans in speed?
So when you make a query, to do something, your AI goes off and thinks about it for a while before it comes back with an answer. That is speed. Human, if I ask the question, Alex, typically not go away for 5 minutes and think about it. At least one version of the answer. Memory, I found incredibly perplexing because these AIs have incredible memory. Alex, if you take on speed, caveat this benchmark. I love benchmarks in general, as I mentioned previously. But these are off-the-shelf models without any agent bureaucracies on top of them, without prompt optimization, without even access to leading-edge reasoning efforts. This is just, if you read the paper, it's just GPT-5 auto. So I'm wary to put my finger on certain deficiencies as being in any way indicative or instructive of the limitations of AI. Meaning there are other models that would perform much better on these 10 parameters, late modifications of existing models that mess with RAG retrieval augmented generation, make them superb at certain skills.
In just 2 days, I'll show you how to use those advanced AI filmmaking and content creation tools without having to pay.
So I think that where this is useful in my mind is just having yet another benchmark for as a proxy, and it's a start for measuring human capabilities against AI capabilities. When I see 57%, we've talked in the past a lot about in style breakers, while the moment you pass 10% or maybe even less, you're basically halfway there. It's getting 57% on a general human psychological benchmark. That indicates to me that probably with a little bit of reinforcement learning, a little bit of bureaucracy agents, right on scaffolding, probably get to 80% today. Oh, by the way, everybody, just use rank both can be 20% on next month. Talk about just on 2026. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. My standard responses to this, which I think this is really great, which we're approximately into kind of one cortex activity. It doesn't deal with emotional intelligence or spiritual intelligence or any other dimension that will be typically attributed. So I thought about you, Celine, but not you specifically on this one because it's going to be a measurable benchmark that we can at least point at. And we're going to discuss whether we're going to hit AGI according to OpenAI in late 26, 27, or 30.
I disagree with the premise. AGI for me would rank these up. So if you're measuring pure IQ test type stuff, fine. This is a great benchmark. We can
Have the first AI spiritual leader who claims religion. And that's very cool.
You know, I'm sure when spending time in the Himalayas with some of these right? Like I said, these people that were years, and I came out with the conclusion this about 10 or 15 questions, like what is the meaning of life type thing. If you have a pretty good answer for those 10 or 15 questions, you can become a guru. And that's kind of an LLM. That's your network. So,
all right,
I don't think that's
here.
hard. I think it's very
By this time next year, there's going to be an AI-based religion that is going to scale at a hyper exponential. It's going to be amazing. All right, big news this week. OpenAI restructures to become a public benefit for-profit corporation and a nonprofit. So OpenAI will hold, the OpenAI Foundation will hold $130 billion stake, 26% of the new company. And the OpenAI group is now what's called a PBE, a Public Benefit Corporation. So you and I did that Singular University, converting it from a nonprofit to a for-profit, and spinning out a exactly this was a benefit corporation. So here's the ownership.
Actually, so a B Corp can do anything a C Corp can do. So go public, raise money, be suitable, all those things.
For the viewers, from a taxation and legal perspective, a B Corp is exactly the same as a C Corp. Just
Exactly.
just a public company. The detachment is that in a C Corp, if the board is obligated to numbers financial optimization, it can be sued if they're seen not be doing that. Whereas the B Corp, the board is obligated to do whatever the mandate is of the B Corp. It can be sued for that.
I love the percentage ownership here. So there we go. 7%.
Why you so sporty him?
Got it?
Thank you.
You so fucking
Raise money. But here's the rub. Elon's remains active, and his bid to try and block restructuring was denied before. But the case will proceed in a while.
restore the nonprofit control. Number two, the key deals such as revenue sharing with Microsoft would be negotiated. And number three, there are potential damage fees and reduced fundraising flexibility to the PBC.
Oh, you want some nuts on there?
So that's going to be interesting drama in a year from now.
Yeah, I think, if you look at the valuation of the company, the market does not believe any of those problems will actually be material. So it seems unlikely, but I think it is. It's got a very valid point in that, that whole time you're a nonprofit, you're not paying any tax. And if you're secretly building a massively profitable, $1 trillion company, that's a terrible precedent. You can't do that. And Elon even said it, like if that were legal, everybody would do that. Every company has a charity. So I think the courts will have to say, yeah, you can't do that. And the penalty be like $1 or something, just like they did with Microsoft antitrust. They're like, okay, you're guilty. You're totally guilty. You're fine. $1, yeah, it was all Microsoft. They did the whole kill Netscape, destroy the entire market, reset, you're out of a job. Like, what's the cost?
The same thing happened, by the way, in the 50s when Goodyear and GM banded together to train tracks in LA and privatized them and just ripped them out. Or there's an antitrust and they got funded out.
Okay, to point out maybe quickly two societal goods here. One is that this results in one of the world's largest nonprofits being created that now has the backing of a frontier lab, and the stated goal of the new AI nonprofit, one of their first goals is to spend $25 billion using AI to solve disease. I think that's a tremendous societal good. We've spoken here in the past about how AI has the potential to solve disease in the next 5 years. I think that this is another arrow in the quiver of making that happen. Second, societal good. One of the things I worry about is what happens if a private frontier lab develops incredible superintelligence and decouples from the human economy. I think putting OpenAI on a trajectory where it can reasonably be expected to go public sometime in the next 2 to 3 years. I think an IPO by OpenAI and other frontier labs and putting the equity in the hands of retail investors and index funds is almost certainly a net societal good because it keeps the economic interests of large chunks of humanity aligned with these frontier labs and vice versa.
What do you want me to cook? I got meat. I don't have chicken. Don't have chicken. Tommy's sick of chicken. I didn't buy chicken.
If you think, what's my life mission? Am I starting a company? Am I changing the world?
You got this here. Cook this. Huh?
Do not trust one single herb.
Pork?
Coconut oil and turmeric combined. And you make
just to solve disease, but what about the other $100 billion? Where's that going to go? So if you're involved in this in any way,
Hey, like that?
and you don't have a strategy for how you interact with AI, really in that building, it's not going to be
What are you looking for now?
This is the largest nonprofit in terms of capital base, and it will be even bigger. It'll reach $500 billion. And Dave, you remember you and I met with, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't think it's officially released, the individual who's a co-founder there that will likely run this OpenAI Foundation. And we're talking about potentially spinning up some X Prizes. And as a means, he was very knowledgeable about these ideas of set up competitions. Learned this year that the numbers for X Prize is we leverage every dollar in the purse by 60-fold. So imagine if $100 billion becomes $6 trillion of leverage. What a fun time ahead.
Think about the scale too. It's just exactly a great point that a normal Big X prize is $100 million prize. You know, and you're talking about $130 billion, which, you know, if the stock goes up post-IPO, could be $260 billion. So all I have to do is, you know, sell some shares and fund a $100 million prize. Could do that every day of the week.
I dream about having 10 $1 billion prizes for the 10 biggest problems. It would steer where students spend their time, where founding partners focus on building companies. I mean, it would be sort of a flame to the entrepreneurial moths out there.
Can I take the other side of this just for a second?
Sure.
Of course, you should really brainwashing. They're putting all this money over there, and then just going full speed towards the IPO, and hoping that the goal that they can do will kind of balance the crazy path to greed.
Do not notice the man behind the screen. And speaking about greenwashing, here's our next story with Sam Altman. Turned green here.
I'm cleaning.
A little bit of shrink in his DNA.
I'm not upset.
And the title here is OpenAI plans a $1 trillion IPO and to spend $1 trillion a year in AI infrastructure. I love this.
Nothing's happening.
We've said this before, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion
No,
there.
nothing's happening. I'm tired.
It's becoming a word far too popular.
Other side. Other side.
So OpenAI is incredible. It is
You also gotta hand it to Sam for the unbelievable sheer gumption from his
Other side. Nothing happened.
No, amazing. Just right.
Well, actually, let me put some numbers. Let me put some numbers on that. So here he is. I'm going to spend $1 trillion a year. We're going to do $1 trillion IPO, and they're going to spend $1 trillion a year on data centers. Your actual revenue today, dude, is $13 billion. Now you're saying you're going to get to $100 billion, but the equivalent would be is if you have a household.
Is there any more sponges or no? Where's our sponge? I
And
don't
your
see our
husband or wife
sponge.
comes home and says, "Hey, we should spend $10 million a year on houses and stuff." That's the equivalent measure.
Where's the sponge? Did you throw it away?
The gumption, like you said, behind
there.
this claim. But hey, he's done everything he said so far, so it's fun.
Yeah, so here's the well, you did that when you mortgaged your house to buy Bitcoin, which in retrospect turned out to be a good idea.
We didn't put all of it in, unfortunately, but still.
Are you still going to mortgage it again?
It's actually like a pretty tiny number. The global GDP is upwards of 100 trillion. So just saying we're going to spend 1% of global GDP on AI infrastructure. Yeah, but this is a one guy. One company. Yeah. So if you have like 5 frontier labs each doing that's still like 5% of global GDP. I think this is a drop in the bucket, and that's before AI starts to radically grow the global economy. This feels unbelievable to me.
And we saw this last time compared to the railroads or telecom infrastructure. The AI build is still as a percentage of the U.S. GDP on the low side. But here are the numbers. OpenAI is working on the largest IPO in history with targets to do this in 26, 27. And the other point made here is that they're planning to build 1 gigawatt capacity per week, 20 billion per gigawatt. There are 52 weeks in a year. That's $1 trillion a year, which is pretty extraordinary.
Just to give people in context, gigawatt is enough to power the whole of Dallas Fort Worth. So a truckload of it.
Incredible. There we go again. Sorry. Okay, time freak.
This episode is brought to you by Blitzy, autonomous software development with infinite code context. Blitzy uses thousands of specialized AI agents.
Goal software.
コーチングの資格を取ったけど、まだクライアントもいないのに、どのタイミングでコーチと名乗っていいんだろう。答え、今からです。コーチは誰かに任命されるわけでもなく、ある意味、次戦から始まるものですから、まだクライアントがいないからといって、遠慮したり、抵抗を感じる必要はありません。というのも、今、現役のプロコーチたちも当たり前ですが、最初はクライアントがいない状態からスタートしています。もしかしたら、あなたと同じく、コーチと名乗ることに抵抗があったかもしれませんが、
Contained files, so it can create multiple files of code, which is very important for certain sorts of apps. So I ran it, of course, through my favorite eval for vibe coding, which is create a visually stunning cyberpunk first-person shooter, and it created a visually stunning dashboard, sort of an intro lobby dashboard for the FPS, but I had to prompt it to create the rest of the game. But it was what it did create was visually stunning, and I think it's a promising first step. I am curious what the interaction with Replit and Lovable will be. We spent a few days with Amjad Masad, the CEO of Replit, and I've been playing with Replit on my phone and computer, sort of coding different apps, which is fun. One of the things, I had a long conversation with Jack Hittery while we were in Riyadh, and one of the things that Jack said, which I love, is every morning, instead of becoming a consumer, become a creator. Right? So, usually I get up and I'm reading all of Alex's texts on all the breakthroughs that he found last night. And I'm just constantly, as all of us are, consuming hundreds of articles over the course of the week, maybe 20 or 30 per day. And Jack was, no. Every morning I'm going to vibe code something. Every morning I'm going to create something. And I think that creator mindset is so critically important for us to be using. So a conversation with your AI and creating something every day would be super fun. All right, so I was creating an app on my phone last night to remind me to take my pill packs, because I have 5 pill packs a day, and so it will now text me in certain windows and remind me, did you take your pill pack? And I can dismiss it if it didn't. So it's sort of an agent adjunct to my health. Okay, moving on. Let's go on to the chips and data center wars. A lot going on here. Again, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion there. The first story is Samsung is building a facility with 500,000 NVIDIA GPUs, automating chip manufacturing. This is an AI mega factory that will combine NVIDIA's Omniverse with Samsung's chip making for up to 20 times faster performance. Blackwell chips have generated $500 billion in business so far. Again, a nice chunk of change. Alex, what do you make of this one? This is what recursive self-improvement looks like, Peter. And this is GPUs, AI being used to optimize chips to make more AI. And there are so many applications, ranging from computational lithography to optimization for this. I think we've spoken in past of the innermost loop of civilization, looking like some linear combination of chips, robots, data centers, power sources, all of these. This is what the innermost loop of civilizations, and that's what the faster looks like. This is the economy, right? That innermost loop is the economy going forward. Certainly the future of the economy. Yeah. I did some reference checking here. So 500,000 NVIDIA GPUs will draw somewhere between, a quarter to 0.4 gigawatts of energy. There's no single site in China or the West that compares. So the Chinese top centers topping out at 10,000 to 35,000 GPUs.
Hey, Crystal.
And in the U.S., clusters like Azure and Meta are
How you guys doing?
30,000 to 55,000. And this is 500,000. Wow.
Does this mean the machines are now basically manufacturing their own evolution? Is that fair?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the right way to think about it, for sure. And also, the fabs and AI fabs themselves have always been automated. They're all roboticized on day one, but it's the periphery around that, turning it into a data center or feeding the front end of the fab, that a huge amount of investment opportunity there to close the inner loop. I think Alex really should write a book if books still exist with that title. But it's such a brilliant insight that there's so much leverage in the inner loop. And if you focus on, okay, where are the bottlenecks on the innermost inner loop, and you're going to find that it's the chip getting out of the fab and into a data center and actually doing something useful. That's where most of the bottlenecks are now. Huge roboticization and energy. That's on the feeding on the front end of it.
Here's what happens to your speech when you raise your intonation at the end of sentences. This is exactly how most people talk. All right, here is a fun conversation. An article, Expropic creates thermodynamic AI chips combating industry's energy crisis. This comes from a friend of ours, Gil Verdon, who's been on my stage at the Abundance Summit. He's been on our podcast here. And he's talking about a breakthrough in hardware, a technology called thermodynamic sampling units, TSUs,
that are using 10,000 times less energy than GPU-based systems, using probabilistic bits. Alex, so what does that all mean? Well, so I read Dale's paper, and I'm a huge fan in general of trying to get closer and closer to the physical limits of computing. Seth Lloyd famously 20 plus years ago discovered/reported that the ultimate physical computer would probably, at least for serial computing, look like a black hole. Black hole is the ultimate supercomputer. So I'm a big fan of approaching the physical limits of computing. In this case, though, my worry is there's such a sort of a sordid history of probabilistic computing approaches being attempted and failing to keep up with Moore's law and algorithmic improvements. This is my worry. I want to believe, I want something like this to succeed, but I'm not super optimistic that this isn't just going to get steamrolled by algorithmic advances and advances in good old-fashioned CMOS digital logic. It looks too much like analog computing, probabilistic computing. Remember, 10,000 times, even generously, 10,000 times in energy improvement at the rate that models and algorithms are advancing, and the rate that good old-fashioned digital CMOS is improving. That may only be a few years of headroom, which a new architecture would need anyway to get off the ground. But can't we view it from the energy perspective? Because reducing the energy requirements on Earth by 10,000-fold seems staggeringly beneficial. In principle, yes, but in practice, the workloads that the economy demands have to be able to run on these computers in order for you to realize this hypothetical energy advantage. I think for better or for worse, the burden of proof is on extreme.
That was so good. You got booed.
That his hardware can host workloads that are
That's beautiful. That was beautiful.
Gotta take a bath.
When Tommy's done. Okay, guys, I'm gonna call it. So have a good day. Have a good day at work. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Undadu.